This next session, I have the honor of moderating. So as you know, I can appreciate leveraging innovative technologies is highly dependent on the quality of data that flows into these technologies. And without high quality, well-governed data, our analytics are at risk. And our ability to take advantage of these new technologies becomes compromised. In a recent study performed by our colleagues at Ataccama, they uncovered some interesting facts about the state of data quality management. In this next panel, which I'm going to have the honor of moderating, we'll hear from industry experts who will opine on these results and offer their views on how data management or data needs to be managed to ensure quality data is flowing into these analytic systems. But before I do that, I'm going to first hand over the Zoom screen to Della Zhuang, sales manager with Ataccama, who's going to walk us through some of the results of their survey. So Della, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, John. Hi, everyone. This is Della from Ataccama. So it's great to be here with you all today. So today's topic is about panel discussion is getting data quality right in 2021. So to better understand, what is preventing organizations from carrying out much needed data-driven innovation and transformation, we have conducted a survey with over 1,000 data professionals to understand from a range of verticals across the world to understand what is stopping them from doing so. And we found some quite, surprising, but as well, quite expected results from the survey. And I want to share some with you. So the first one is 79% of the C-suite and 75% of the head of business, they are in alignment, but not in a good way. They reported they're facing issues with data quality in a day-to-day operations. And the next statistic I want to share with you is 43% of the business, they reported they have a minimum or even zero data governance in place. Last statistic I want to share from the survey is over half of the participants say privacy and other data regulations are limiting their business from innovating. So what we heard from the survey results are very much the realities that reflected in our clients' experiences and also what we heard from our peers, that the vast majority of the data management projects run into the data quality issue, and recent compliance is increasingly become a key driver for having comprehensive data management practice in place. So this situation is calling a more modern, proactive approach to data quality throughout the data life cycle. So what it comes down to it, what organization really need is a way to deliver high quality data throughout the organization with rapid access, whether it is to your data engineer, to your chief marketing officer, to your CDO, to your recent compliance office, or even to a machine learning algorithm. And this is where data fabric comes in. So the goal of data fabric is allowing organizations and individuals to have extremely easy, fast, and self-service way to obtain high quality data product where they can use and generate business value and ensure data governance and compliance in place. As you can see, these are some of the functionalities that is covered by data fabric. It is modular, composable, and reusable. And what it is is to help organizations to have an integrated layer to help them to access the data, to connect the data and the process to make sure they get the data product in time. And I know that EDM Council has recently released a data management benchmarking report where John will take you through to share some of the insights and also kick off the panel discussion. Over to you, John.
Thanks, Della. So, as Della mentioned, the EDM Council conducted a data management survey in 2020, utilizing the data management best practice framework called DCAM. Now that was a very comprehensive study with over 28 questions asked and over 300 to 400 respondents. So I'm not going to go through all of that right now, but I just wanted to pick out a couple of things that are relevant to this discussion. And the first fact really speaks to or re-emphasizes the points that Della just stated. The three key statistics you mentioned: 75% of the business people reported facing data quality issues. Over 43% complained that there was little or no data governance. 54% pointed to data regulation as limiting their ability to innovate. In our study, we asked the questions, what are the key drivers? And look at the top three. They're exactly in line to Della, which you discovered. The top drivers are data governance, data quality, and regulatory drivers. And look at number 4, data analytics. That never appeared in our surveys before. The responsibility of data analytics is new to the data professionals, bag of tricks, to the chief data officer's responsibilities. We had an additional question asked of the scope of responsibility of the data professional. And you see from this graph, and again, this corresponds to what Della was just speaking about, the data professional clearly has their usual, responsibilities: classic data management, data strategy, data funding, data governance, data quality. But look at the two things that appeared again for the first time in our surveys. Over 50% said that the chief data officer or the data professional has now the responsibility of data analytics. And brand new was 42% are responsible for responsible data management, or what's known as data ethics, the ethical acquisition, use, and distribution of data. Now, what do all of these three have in common? Data quality. We need to have high quality, trusted data feeding into our analytic engines to have trust in the outcomes. So for our panel discussion, we're going to talk about how do we get that high quality data? How do we achieve it? So you've met Della, sales manager for Ataccama. Joining me on the panel will be Surubi Jain, Chief Data Officer at Westpac. Surubi, you are there?
Hi, John. Hi, everyone.
Howdy.
Hi.
And Irene Liu, partner for PwC, Finance, Risk, and Regulatory Consulting. Irene, are you with us?
Yes, John, I'm here.
There we go. Okay, we have an exciting panel. And like all panels, we talk about what the question is going to be before the panels. Well, I changed some of the questions, so it's going to be a little bit more dynamic. But don't worry, I won't trap anybody. So let me turn the share off so we can see each other. There we go. All right. I'll start off with an easy one. What do you say are the biggest challenges that firms face in implementing data quality programs? And let me qualify that a little bit. Is it about the scope of the data or the breadth of the data? Is it about the disparity of the data? What are the things that keep the data quality professional up at night, other than the EDM Council DataVision on the East Coast at 3 in the morning? Other than that, what keeps the data quality professional up at night? Let me start with Surubi.
Okay, I love it how you change, the sequence of the questions. So nothing like that to keep us on our toes. So data quality programs. Okay, what are some of the challenges? I think for me, having had the privilege of being part of many of these, it's got to start with scope, having a very clear problem statement and starting with the business problem statement that we are looking to resolve. Also understanding what's the scope of the data set that we are looking at and for what purpose. So it can't be all data in the organization. So being really specific about that. And during the implementation, some of the challenges that I have encountered in my programs has been legacy systems, not knowing what sources can be trusted for what data sets. and having a clear view of authoritative data sources. So these would be some of my top challenges.
So I love the business problem because I think I've seen myself too often. It's data quality is one size fits all, and it's not. Right. So you have to really assess that. Irene, you obviously work with many customers in this space, so you get to see all the different gyrations of data quality. Do you have a kind of a common theme that runs through them, or do you go in there and like kind of open the box up and see what's you find?
Well, for me, a lot of these data quality programs, right, start by, desiring to measure data quality without even understanding the entire data lifecycle. And this is what Surabhi was mentioning earlier, right? They would be inundated by quite a lot of legacy systems. And on top of that, what Adela was also mentioning about high reliance on manual spreadsheets. So if I was looking at what I call a data flow diagram itself, it is very complicated A3 spreadsheet and probably sometimes two of A3 spreadsheets before I can see the end-to-end of the data lifecycle itself. And without assigning the appropriate responsibilities and controls across each of these hops. Now, why do you want to start monitoring something that you haven't even controlled in the first instance? And so getting the order right is very important.
So lineage I'm hearing is important, but lineage is also hard. It's like kind of, what's the, trying to grab a chicken running around the room. You can't always grab it, right? It's running all over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Della, if I'm starting a brand new data quality program, other than I love Surabhi, the idea of the business story, right? But I'm now just more of the structural thing. Like, how do I structure? What kind of staff do I want? What kind of skill sets do I want? What would you advise a client as to how to start their program?
Thank you, John. I think so. It's it's actually sometimes it's quite comprehensive, but it sometimes could be really simple. I think data qualities always need to be business first. So always align with what the business challenges, what the business challenge is, and what they're looking to achieve by implementing a data quality program. And by understanding the business needs, that's where you come up from the scope. And a data quality program, there's a couple components, you have the architecture team, the business involvement, and you also might have some technology selection coming in place. But the most important thing is, these three or more components, different functions need to serve for the same common purpose is really what the business outcome would be. In terms of the common, I guess, common skill sets that you really need to be data driven. So we need to involve people in the organization, understanding the data, understanding the ecosystem, what we currently have, and also need to understand, people have knowledge of the business. So that's what's most fundamental. And also we're coming to people that are technology driven as well. You don't necessarily need people that, for example, some certain skills that you don't necessarily need. Everyone is a developer, engineer to be involved in data quality program, but they are part of the journey. So it is a combination of the business people, the technical people, and together. So that's a very comprehensive skill sets, and everyone is organization wide skills program. Yeah.
Surabhi, I know you know this answer, but if you can share your views on this, there are a lot of tools out there. Right? And from really good providers. In fact, Peter said he was going to log off, but it's still the early evening for him. But Informatica has a great data management tool, and there are other good tools out there. But often firms make a mistake and buy the tool first. So what has been your experience, and how do you make sure you got the right tool for the right job?
I think that's a really tough question. So right tool for the right job. A tool is a tool. And I think every program, every organization, it's no one size fits all. They would be in a different stage of their journey. So for example, if it's a smaller organization that doesn't have access to all the tools, a lot can be achieved with the simple tools that are available, the Microsoft suite. If they're larger organizations, sometimes we have an excessive choice of tools. We have every tool available. And that was my previous firm. Every tool that we could think of that was available at hand. And that creates a different set of challenges. So I think the good news is that with the recent development in technology, there are a lot of fantastic tools that are available out there. The mistakes that a lot of us made during BCBS days, back in 2012, 2013, during our data mapping and lineage, we can learn from those experiences and fast track some of the delivery. So we have got knowledge graph technology that's been out there for some time. There are a lot of new tools that are taking advantage of that can help fast track how we do lineage automatically. And there are much better results now compared to back in 2012, 2013. So leveraging some of that. Irene talked about data quality measurements. Again, it's a hybrid approach. So using some of the lineage tools to demonstrate where we may have data control issues, using some of the data quality measurement tooling to showcase where we have got, data quality metrics gaps. So I think it's a combination of multiple things. And as I said, the good news is there's so many fantastic tools available out there, no matter what you pick, as long as we are able to demonstrate incremental delivery and create success stories, any tool would work.
So it's the user and not the tool. So I play golf and I hit a bad shot, I blame the club, but it's not the club's fault, it's the player, right? So same, I guess, with data quality, right? It's the tools are fantastic. We have to teach the staff how to use them, apply them appropriately, and so forth. So that's really good stuff.
John, if I may
yes.
add, right, actually, when we're talking about tools, actually, we have seen quite a lot of tools in the market, right? And I know I like the way Surabi answered it. Actually, quite a lot of tools are actually usable. But one key difference is, I think, in terms of the user experience of the tool in itself. And that's very important because, it helps you to be able to, learn how to use the tool very quickly, and the availability of on-site training, by the vendors as well. But otherwise, in terms of the tool, it is actually what you put in, what kind of data quality, rules that you place in that is actually most important.
Yeah, I agree. Let me direct this to Della, and then Irene close to jump in as well. What I've heard from many, many members when it comes to data quality is the operations teams or the business are often very concerned or shy about admitting that they have bad data quality because they feel like they'll be penalized for it, right? How do you run a modern data quality program and flip that model around, actually incentivize staff to come forward with their challenges so they can be remediated? Della, if you, how would you talk to your clients? Irene, how would you talk to your clients on that?
This is a very it's a great question, and sometimes it's really tricky to discuss with our client as well, because you don't want to admit that your mistake. But one of our clients, I had a discussion with one of my clients last year, and what he pointed out is, I really resonate with it, is data quality is the oxygen of the organization. You don't notice it until it is bad. And so, yeah, and that's exactly how I feel, right? And then sometimes we talk to them. We're not trying to, I guess, from our end, when we work with clients, we're not trying to make them realize, focus on the things that possibly wasn't what has done wrong because there's not enough process in place. But this is a profession that, I think over the past couple of years, this is data governance and data management has increasingly become more and more important in the industry, and organizations are getting more educated and mature with, just having data management in place. So that it's, I think that's an advantage for us working with a client, because that's something that they never noticed before. So I wouldn't say necessarily that they made a mistake, because they didn't know that we need to look at our data quality, we need to look at our governance framework, and to put necessary process and technologies and people to enable that. So I think in a way that we always, in APAC, compared to other market, we are still picking up data management, data governance in this region. And I think that's where a lot of opportunities that we have to work with our clients to help them, to strengthen the foundation. We want to help them to make sure to avoid a mistake that you can possibly make by not having data quality in place. So that's where, the message, how we, trying to convey to our clients. And data quality, it's sort of defensive, but now a lot more organization, like you mentioned earlier, we're being more proactive. Even some of the business, they have not thought about it, they will start thinking, oh, maybe we should start thinking about governance. Let's review, do a market scan. Maybe we're not working on it, but let's see what is out there and what we can do better. And that's a good shift that we have seen, I guess, from Ataccama point of view over the last 12 months in the APAC region.
Irene and Surubi, if you can join, give your thoughts. And just before you make a comment, I just want to reach out to my colleague, Mike Meriden. Mike, I'm experiencing a wicked thunderstorm here right now. So if suddenly my screen goes blank, you have to pick up the panel discussion. So quickly, before I lose power, Irene and Surubi, what are your views? And how do you incentivize your organizations to bring forward the data quality challenges?
Well, John, incentivizing, is too hard to achieve over here. In fact, this is quite a bit of a tough challenge over here. So let me share with you, right, and the complexity involved. So I give an example, right? So for example, a data element like approved limit, right? It is given by, let's say, a group credit, and then it goes to the credit analyst team to input the information in the system, and then it goes on to another team for approval and so on. So the entire chain in itself, when you're asking for what is the data quality in the approved limit and who's responsible for it. And in fact, I had a recent discussion where my fingers were pointing everywhere but themselves. And so it is actually quite challenging. And so that's why, I think that really the best way is to be able to institute what I call the values and practices of the organization within data quality in itself. And this is something that Surabi and I are also going to write a white paper on in terms of how individual accountability and conduct can actually be placed within a data governance practice in order to institute this as part of a culture, as a practice, instead of as a responsibility.
So maybe I can join in on writing that white paper. Surubi, your thought?
We'd love for you to help us write the paper, John. So we are definitely going to take you up on that offer. Okay. I think it's a stick and carrot approach. In my experience, that works well. So I've been in financial services for a long time. There is a lot of regulatory scrutiny and interest in data quality. So that becomes the stick. And then the carrot is, demonstrating through examples how measuring data quality and whether the results are positive or not so positive, where work needs to be done. What does it actually mean for the business? So bringing it to life with real examples.
Well, there are so many questions coming in. I'm not going to get to all of them, but one of them was, how do you measure data quality? So is it a definitive metric? Is it a kind of a field kind of metric? What are the directions there?
So data quality measurements are usually done by applying rules. So firstly, understanding what is the usage of that element, having appropriate data quality rules defined. So what's within the limits, what's outside the limit. So for example, if you were to take a simple example of date of birth, in banking context, a savings account, anybody from the age of, a few months to X many years can have a savings account. But when it becomes a mortgage product, then that changes the entire dynamics, because in order to be able to get a mortgage successfully, you've got to be over the age of 18, and there's a certain criteria set that needs to apply. So I think it's starting with understanding what is the usage of that data element, building rules around that. And to Irene's point earlier, putting these rules through an engine, and this could be something quite simple. You could have simplistic data quality measures built into Excel or Access, or if you've got access to fancy tools, like Informatica was on earlier, Anand was on, then Informatica data quality. So the options are limitless. But it's being very clear about what's the usage, having clear data quality rules defined, having thresholds defined. So what does good look like? Is it 99%? of my completeness, or is it 90%? So just having a very clear view around those.
So let me shift a little bit, and we're going to be running out of time soon. There's data quality and there's data quality management, and there's a difference, right? When we think about data quality management, I think of the data quality program. And one of the things, look, we're always going to have data quality issues. The question I would ask you is, how do you manage those issues? How do you prioritize, especially in light of regulators coming in who might, look for certain things and want to see evidence of improvement? How do you prioritize your, especially in legacy environments, there's going to be plenty of data quality issues. So what are the best practices around prioritizing and remediating issues that you discover? Irene, I'll start with you.
In fact, for the data quality issues, normally, what we want to do is, first of all, we only measure those of the critical data elements in the first instance. And thereafter, looking at, what is the extent of the defects involved. So it could be, for example, like Surabhi mentioned, right? If let's say I'm looking at 95% to be acceptable, then anything else that is below 95% is not acceptable. And that could be a series of, let's say, 5 or 6, CDEs that actually have data quality issues across this. So what we would do is looking at those that are most demanding for attention, which has the lowest passing rates. The second one is also being able to group together data quality issues of a like nature. So, for example, there would some that have, completeness issues. Give an example, and where these actually relate to similar systems across similar stakeholders, then I think they could be grouped together and they could be prioritized.
Della, often you'll hear risk-based analysis. How is a risk-based analysis applied to data quality remediation? And then I'm going to ask one last question before we break.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I really agree with what Irene just mentioned. When it comes to risk-based, it's really coming to the critical data elements. When it comes to DQ remediation, coming to how risk. When we talk about risk, how much impact that this data quality issue will impact the business, not just from the risk and compliance as well. So I think the regulation that we touch on is very important. Sometimes a lot of data quality is driven by regulation, by industry regulators to really to remediate those issues. The second part is, as a business, any organization, how is this DQ going to impact the bottom line of the business? Based on that, you assign assign the risk level to it, and then to help you to remediate those DQ issues together with approach. Always start with your CDE, and most of the time your CDEs is your most important data assets, and most of the time they're the most risky data asset that you need to protect from any data quality defects. So I think that will be regulation and compliance, internal risk and compliance, and revenue, business bottom line driven data assets.
So I would love to talk to you guys for another 20 minutes, 50 minutes. It's a lot to talk about, but we've got 2 minutes left. I want to do a quick round robin on the last question. Given that we are talking a lot about cloud, one of the questions came in is, how does cloud help, your data quality environment? So I need kind of a 1 or 2 sentence answer. So Ruby, I'll make you go first. I don't know if you had a chance to think about that one, but how do we improve data quality in cloud?
So again, I think rather than thinking about it's on cloud or on-prem, it's about, I don't think approaches are different. It's about, it again comes back to, what is the business problem we are trying to solve, whether it's on-prem or on cloud. Those are just technology enablers. Excellent.
Irene?
Exactly my thoughts. Yep.
That's not fair. You got to give an answer. No, that's not fair. And Della?
I definitely agree with Surabhi, but I guess on the one end, a lot of organizations moving to the cloud, and I think going cloud first is most of the time is you can offload the infrastructure dependency internally on premises and really just focusing on business. And I think that's one of the advantages, what cloud can do for data quality, just make it faster, more accessible, and just embedded within the business. And that's really the benefit. But it's like Surabhi said, it's all about what the business is trying to achieve, regardless of software.
If I were to answer that question, I think one thing I would say is don't lift and shift. Because if you have bad quality in prem, don't just move it to cloud. Use that opportunity to look at it first before putting it into cloud. Della, Irene, Sarubi, fantastic panel. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm going to switch on the screen share for a moment. Della, just again, it was at the end of your session. Just again, if you want to learn more about Ataccama, there's the access point for Ataccama. Again, thank you.